What's up everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So it's time for us to start talking about the Suicide Squad game. And the reason I've waited this long to do much more detailed content and coverage surrounding the game is because I was waiting just a little bit closer to the game's release. Now you probably scratch your head and like, whoa, it's not till 2023, but keep in mind I've also been covering content for Gotham Knights since around 2019, 2020. But Suicide Squad on the other hand is coming into the conversation because Gotham Knights has now positioned itself to a current gen game. So instead of us looking at a game that was going to be both past gen and this gen, the game is now touting itself to be a game that's going to be exclusive to the PS5, the Xbox Series, and PC. Now, Suicide Squad has always been on this playing field for the longest time. Since it was first revealed, this is exactly where the developers said they were going to develop their game. Now, many of you on this channel may not necessarily know, but I am a huge Batman fan. In fact, it's interesting that I never really covered the Suicide Squad games in depth when they were first revealed because I'm also a huge Rocksteady fan. Now, yes, there are things that Rocksteady has probably done, like say their entire shtick with, oh, we're not showing anything to you guys in E3, that E3 where everybody was expecting that they will come around to address those Superman rumors, but Stephen Hill just went ahead to give us a big downer on Twitter rather than just say, you know, it's not Superman, but I'm certain that you guys are going to be excited about it. But he just kind of blew that off and it just felt kind of weird, but it is what it is. I guess maybe the pressure and maybe all of the hype that can build around a project you're not working on was something he was trying to dispel. Now, come 2020, we got to see both Gotham Knights and we got to see both Suicide Squad, and it seems like now the Suicide Squad game is gaining a lot more interest. A lot of people have looked at Gotham Knights. We've seen probably too much of a whole new direction that those developers at Warner Brothers Games Montreal are trying to go, and it seems more and more people are probably thinking to themselves, man, can we just get a little bit of familiarity? And I understand. I'm a huge Arkham fan, played the Arkham games, except Asylum, I haven't beaten it. But for the most part, I'm thinking about Suicide Squad from a perspective where I really want to see how Rocksteady is able to piece a game like this together. Now, keep in mind, we don't have a lot of details regarding Suicide Squad. I mean, yes, we can do trailer breakdowns, which already have been done by other channels and other members of this community, but in reality, we actually have more details, more information surrounding Gotham Knights than we do with the Suicide Squad game. Nonetheless, we can still go ahead and assess what this game is trying to be. And I don't want anybody to go ahead and freak out because I just said that we don't have as much information. If you wanted to actually do a tit for tat, you also have to kind of realize that we have just as much information on Suicide Squad as we do God of War Ragnarok. And Ragnarok is actually slated to come out in 2022. So if you actually went with that, I think Suicide Squad is tracking in a very healthy way. Now, in regard to this video, there is something I wanted to highlight, and this is from the DC Fandom reveal of this game from 2020. In fact, just as I was making this video, I went back and watched the 17-minute presentation that they actually put together surrounding the game. I think Rocksteady made the best first step that you can actually make in revealing your video game. Rather than go with a lot of gameplay elements and kind of keep things vague because that cannot necessarily be satisfactory, what they did was they did a presentation where they had Stephen Hill pretty much do a Q&A session with some Hollywood guy. Can't remember his name, you probably know who he is. And in that particular presentation, there were about 4 questions that really came to light. Now, one of these questions asked about the way the game will play because of the way the characters are. Now, this is very important, so here's pretty much what that question was saying. The question asked, in regard to the Suicide Squad game, will we be playing as every character from the squad or just one? And if it's one, which character is it going to be? And Stephen Hill gave a very detailed answer to this question, and I think pretty much set the tone for us to know exactly what to expect when we first fire up this game and jump into it. So Stephen Hill replies, and I'm going to quote, and he says, so the structure of the game is that it's a 1 to 4 player co-op game. So if you want to play single player, you can totally play single player. I mean, our mantra has always been that you play this game however you want to play it. If you play single player, you still have a full squad with you. Now, if we take a moment to expound a little bit on what he just said, he's pretty much saying that this game is going to have the experience where you are able to take the reins and you're not necessarily in a position where you're depending on other players to be able to capture the experience of some aspects of the game. So this already negates a lot of that aspect of many of these concerns with these games going in thinking that there might be things like raids or all these missions that require from multiple players. He's basically saying that this entire game can be enjoyed by one person at the helm of the controls, and you can pretty much experience the entire game however you want. So he goes on to pretty much continue, and I quote, and he says, players 2, 3, and 4 will be filled by bots who will fight along with you and really join in the fun, and obviously give you that squad experience. And so from all of this stuff so far, Suicide Squad is basically a game where they're coming at it from the perspective that you're yanking out these squad members, or maybe like a small select task force members, and you're actually playing them in a video game. What does that look like in, say, a gaming experience? Well, the answer is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is actually trying to answer that question. I think this is pretty much the crux of the game that helps you to understand and realize exactly what this game is going into. That even makes it much more plausible as to why they decide to stick with the next gen at the time anyways of the reveal. They said it was going to be coming out in 2022, which has now been moved quietly to 2023. But I think this is very, very important as to this game. So if you even go on any further within the answer he gave to the question, he also talked about you having the ability to be able to have your friends come in and take on any of the squad members and join in the experience with you. So whatever it is that you're playing or whatever it is that you're doing currently in the game, anyone can hop in and join you in that experience pretty much. And so I think this is what the crux of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is going to look like from a gameplay experience. Now, in terms of other things like progression, the nature of the game, how the story is going to be integrated, we don't necessarily know much. Now, to be fair, in that same presentation, Stephen Hill said that this particular game is a continuation of the Arkhamverse. So a lot of things that were in the Arkhamverse that were somewhat cliffhangers, according to him, are going to come to fruition in this game. So we're going to be getting a lot of answers. So a lot of those little clues that you saw in Arkham Knight, where you saw a Lex Tower, where you saw goons talking about that freak in Metropolis, right? When you could hear them over the comms in Batman, you will probably be seeing some of those things carry over into the Suicide Squad game. And I think this is what keeps the fans more excited than anything else, especially when a lot of people were expecting that Batman will be a huge part of the Gotham Knights game, but seeing that that's not necessarily the direction that the developers and the writers wanted to go, it seems like this is going to be a refreshing, familiar ground for the Arkham fans to be able to come in and continue that huge, long gap of story and possible exploration of different canonical plot lines in this particular game. So ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that are looking forward to the Suicide Squad game, I think we're in for a treat. I hope, though, that the developers are still focused on the core things that made their Arkham games quite solid. There is a lot of history to the Arkham games. We can explore them from time to time, but I wanted to go ahead and just say, what are your thoughts regarding the Suicide Squad game? Now that we've seen Gotham Knights to a much more reasonable extent, and we've gone back to look at the different archives of the information given regarding the Suicide Squad game, which game do you think you're going to be investing your time on for the long haul? Or is it something that you're going to play both of them because you just enjoy the DC universe and the superhero genre? Talk to me in the comment section. Hopefully we'll talk very soon. I appreciate you guys so much. Peace out.